The most interesting part of this story is not the extremes and the absolute worst violence that is experienced by women, or the worst violations. It's the really subtle stuff that we've just become so used to in our society. And those are the scenes in the film that I find really interesting. They're the everyday occurrences that happen to young girls, you know, and women, that we've just become, that we all grew up sort of feeling very used to and accepting of. And so that's the part of it's the ambiguity around all of this stuff that I think Emerald's really looking at in this story. It's, obviously there's a very clear right and wrong at the heart of this story, and that's what her kind of path is trying to sort of correct. But there's also, throughout, there's these moments that you can justifiably have two different perspectives on, and I think it's those grey areas that we don't talk about that are the areas that are really interesting. I think she's just got this unbelievable loyalty that, you know, 10 years later, she's not let go of what happened to her friend. And that sisterhood, I just thought was really beautiful, and having really close female friends. And I remember Emerald saying to me when we met, you know, what would you, I'm sick of sort of machete and lipstick films, girls on revenge paths. Like, what would you actually do if your friend was wronged like that? What lengths would you actually go to for your friend? And I think it was that combination of it being a film about women standing up for each other, but also that sort of loyalty, just like standing by someone and doing something in their memory, no matter what. Promising Young Woman, well, it's about a 30-something woman who started her sort of career as a want-to-be doctor and had to leave it all and sacrificed it for her friend, to protect her friend who had a terrible thing happen to her. And you're meeting this character 10 years later, and she's still living very much in the centre of the trauma of what happened to her, but she's trying to find a way through it. And her way through it is to sort of, one by one, correct injustices and school men on how to behave appropriately. I think she presents herself on a daily basis with, she's thought meticulously about what she's wearing and how her hair is and what her makeup looks like and how her nails are. And all of that thought has gone in as armour, you know, that's costume. Everything that she wears is a costume. And we all wear costumes all the time. But Cassie every day is wearing a costume to sort of protect herself from the outer world and to look as little like she did when this happened as possible. But at night she uses that same skill to sort of dress herself and change her appearance to sort of mask herself completely and take on personas. And in those personas, she will make herself vulnerable to men, these predatory men are ultimately sort of have the tables turned on them. She's going out at night, she's pretending to be drunk, she's not drinking at all. She's alone, and she's allowing herself to be rescued by a man. And she waits until she doesn't ever advance a situation with a man. She doesn't give them any signals that she is trying to end up in any kind of sexual scenario with them. She's blackout drunk, kind of lolling all over the place. And she waits until the moment when the man takes advantage of that. And then she immediately snaps out of it and reveals that she's sober and teaches them a lesson. Laverne's just, she's got a very quick sense of humour. But she's got such a warm heart. And I think, you know, Cassie, particularly in the coffee shop, everything's quite held back and she's sort of staring at the world through her fringe. And she's very standoffish with Ryan when she first meets him. And I think Gail it brings the sort of joy. You know, I think if she was paired with anyone else at work, she could live a very miserable life. But Gail is joyful and Laverne is joyful. Laverne is so joyful. I mean, she's always singing and, you know, sort of larking around. I think that kind of warmth and goodness kind of came out in that part. It's been so problematic working with Bo. I honestly can't remember the last time it was a problem laughing at work. You know, I haven't been working on such serious films. No, he's ruined so many takes by making me laugh. But he's just so quick, and he'll never do a scene without just adding one other thing in, and it's usually the thing that like just completely ruins me, and then I'm gone. But yeah, he's just great, and it's hard to imagine anyone apart from Bo playing that part, because the film needs that kind of humour at the centre of it. She's just a complete delight all the time. And I remember like a couple of days into filming being like, we should send out a memo to all other directors that you can just be lovely and pregnant, but you can just be lovely all the time and get the job done brilliantly. I just haven't seen her lose her rag, and she's just lovely and really insightful and smart and direct, and she doesn't mess around, and she can give a like perfect note as soon as you need it. She doesn't ever cut the camera until she's happy. Yeah, I mean, she's literally, and it would never in a million years cross your mind that she hadn't directed 15 other films if you didn't know that this was her first feature, because she's just completely at home. I do think we do, women, and particularly now even more so, there feels like this real strength of community between women, and we do look out for each other even more so now. And I think, so that's what sort of struck me as being most kind of affecting about the film, is this idea of us kind of, yeah, looking after each other a bit more. I just hope audiences have a great time. I just think, like, I want audiences to feel the way that I did when I read it and I got to the end and was sort of gasping for breath, having laughed and cried and been slightly scared. And, you know, I just think, I never want to prescribe things, and I've been part of films before that have sort of tackled tough subject matters, but ultimately you go to see a film to escape and have fun and enjoy, and I just think this is this just has every element of that. It has like a huge romance, and it's funny, and it's a bit scary, and it's dark and wry and beautiful to look at.